Hey guys, welcome to question FM347 of the Further Maths Fortify study guide. This question reads, at Werribee Park, 3 campsites A, B and C surround the local bonfire at point O. The distance and bearing of the bonfire from each of the 3 campsites is presented in the figure below, and then we're given a figure that looks like this. We're told that the bonfire is 137 meters away on a bearing of 135 degrees from campsite A. The bonfire is 142 meters away on a bearing of 53 degrees from campsite B. And the bonfire is 109 meters away on a bearing of 254 degrees from campsite C. Question A part I says, show that the distance in meters from campsite A to campsite B is 183.08 meters. So the way we're going to set up this question is, first of all, I'm going to draw the triangle that we're sort of trying to represent here. So let's draw it like that. This point here is O, this point here is A, and then we've got B down here. We know that this side length is 137 meters, and we know that this side length is 142 meters. Now, at this point, you might start thinking to yourself, well, I've got 2 side lengths here. This isn't necessarily a right angle triangle, but if I did know what this angle was here, then I could use this information and use the cosine rule to figure out what this unknown value is over here between A and B. So if we can figure out what this angle is here, then we can answer this question. So I want to draw one other thing here, and that's just sort of a little representation of, if this is point O, we have a line going up to point A, and we've got a line going down to point B. If this is directly north from point O, and I'm going to put the O over here and you'll see why in a second, if we can figure out what the bearing is to get from O to A, so that would be this bearing here, and we subtract the bearing from O to B, we'll be left with just that angle that would be between the lines from A, in between the lines that go to A and go to B. So we'd be left with this little portion here if we were to minus this amount from it. So we're going to figure out what the bearing is to A, and then we're going to find out what the bearing is to B. So, the bearing to A. Now, if we have a bearing from A to O of 135 degrees, if we add 180 degrees to that, because this number is below 180 degrees, we will have the bearing from O to A. So if we take our 135 and add 180, we get a bearing of 315 degrees. If we take our bearing to B, so from B to O is 53 degrees, this is also under 180 degrees, which means that adding 180 degrees to it will give us the bearing from O to B. So we take our 53 plus 180, and we get a bearing of 233 degrees from O to B. So, doing what we said before, from here to figure out what our angle is going to be, we simply subtract our value from 315 degrees. 315 degrees, that would be the bearing from O to A, and we're going to subtract from that the bearing to B. So 315 take 233 means that we're left with an angle, this angle theta in here, of 82 degrees. Now that we know that this is 82 degrees, we have the necessary information to figure out what this value x is. So the stock standard sort of base formula that you would use to figure this question out is going to be a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos A. But I like to rearrange it a little bit before I get started and have a equals the square root of all of that. B squared plus c squared minus 2bc times cos A. And from here, I'm going to substitute my known values. So we've got our side length B. So this can be either the 142 or the 137. So we can take 137 squared plus 142 squared minus 2 times 137 times 142 times because of the angle we just found, 82 degrees. Plugging all of this into a calculator and rounding to 2 decimal places, we should get an answer of 183.08 meters for this side length x here. So I should have substituted that x in there, and there's your answer for that. And that's exactly what we've been asked to find. Question AII asks us to show that the distance in meters from campsite B to campsite C is 246.87 meters. So to set this question up, once again, we're going to start by creating the triangle that we're sort of looking at here. So we get a bit of an idea of what we're working with. So this is going to be point O, this is going to be point B, and this is going to be point C. And we should have 109 meters up here, 142 meters down here, and we're going to try and find this length here between B and C. Once again, if we can find this angle in here, then we should be able to solve this question. Same as before, I'm going to draw a little sort of diagram showing just the bearings situation coming out of O towards these two guys. So we've got C over here and B down here. So we need to find this angle in here. If we're able to find the bearing from O to B and subtract the bearing from O to C, we'll be left with this little portion down here, which is what we need to answer this question. So first of all, the bearing to B. Actually, we'll start with the bearing to C. So the bearing to C, now this bearing from C to O is 254 degrees. This is over 180, so we'll take this 254 and minus 180 degrees from that to get the bearing from O to C. Plugging that into a calculator or doing it in your head, you should get an angle of 74 degrees. Now looking at the bearing to B, we should have here, we've got a bearing from B to O of 53 degrees. Because this is under 180 degrees, we're going to add 180 degrees to it. So the bearing from O to B is going to be 233 degrees. So the angle that we're looking for here is going to be that 233 degrees minus the 74 degrees, and we'll be left with this portion here. So we take this 233 minus 74, and that leaves us with 159 degrees. Awesome. Now we're going to be able to use that 159 in the same way we did before. So I'm going to just jump straight into the rearranged equation for the cosine rule. So A is equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times cos A. Substituting our values in here, we should get y is equal to the square root of 109 squared plus 142 squared minus 2 times 109 times 142 times cos of that angle we just found, 159 degrees. Plugging that all into a calculator should land you with an answer of 246.87 meters, which of course is what you were asked to find in the first place. Question A, part 3 says, show that the distance in meters from campsite A to campsite C is 212.44 meters. So, as we have with the last couple of questions, I'm going to start by drawing this triangle. However, this question is going to be a little different because of how these angles or these bearings are going to work this time. So what we know in this question, once again, we know that this is going to be 137 meters here and 109 here. We're going to try and find this side length, and we can do that if we're able to find this angle here. What's different about this angle is that we're going to find it not as we have before by using bearings. We could use those other bearings. We are still going to use bearings, sorry, just in a slightly different way. So we know that the angle, the bearing from A to O is 135 degrees like this. If we were to run one of these arrows here as well, you would notice that these are all parallel to one another. So because this is 135 degrees in here, this angle here, or let's call it alpha down here, and that one theta, then this angle is going to be complementary to the 135. So we're going to have 180 degrees should be the total of those two angles. So what we're going to do to figure out what this angle is, what angle alpha is, it's going to be 180 degrees minus that 135, which should mean that that leaves us with 45 degrees. This angle here, call it theta. This is the bearing from O to C. So we know that the bearing from C to O is 254. This is over 180. So to get the bearing from O to C, we simply minus 180 from that, and we're left with 74. Adding these two angles together should give us the total angle. So if we add 45 and 74, we should get 119. Awesome. So we got 119 degrees there. Same as before, we're going to use the quick little formula here of A is going to be equal to B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. Substituting our values in here, we should get that Z is going to be equal to the square root of 109 squared plus 137 squared minus 2 times 109 times 137 times cosine of 119 degrees. Plugging that all into a calculator should land you at 212.44 meters. Before we give them part B, we're told that according to park guidelines, the 3 campsites are required to know the triangular area that they cover. So if we will make a triangle between A, B, and C, that area of that triangle. Question B says, use Heron's formula to find the area of the triangle ABC correct to the nearest square meter. So Heron's formula looks like this. That area is equal to the square root of S times S minus A times S minus B times S minus C. So as long as we can figure out what these 4 different values are, we can plug them all in and get the area of this triangle. So the first and trickiest one is S, because S is equal to A plus B plus C all over 2. Now A and B and C are simply going to be the 3 side lengths that we proved before. So the length between A and C, C and B, and A and B. So if we plug those 3 values in, so we'll start with the first one that we proved, the 183.08, add that to our 246.87, and once more to our 212.44. All over 2, plugging into a calculator, we should get a value of 321.195. Now we've got all our values sort of explained here. So we've got S of 321.195, A is 183.08, B 246.87, and C 212.44. So effectively we have everything we need to answer this question. So writing a big equation here, we should get 321.195 times 321.195 minus 183.08 times 321.195 minus 246.87 times 321.195 minus 212.44. Plugging all of that into a calculator should land you with an answer of 18,936 meters squared when rounded to the nearest square meter. All right. If you guys have any questions about any of these questions for us, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.